Now onto the audience research dimensions. The first dimension that we're going to be looking into is the attitudes and behaviors of people within the community. For definition, an attitude is a set of emotions, beliefs, and experience that the audience brings with them to a particular object, person, thing, or event. Examples of attitudes are, I get stressed out over holidays, or I'm afraid of spiders. Attitudes are usually the result of past experiences, lack of past experiences, or outside influence. And attitudes determine behavior. Behavior is the way that somebody acts towards something because of their attitude. Examples of behaviors affected by the attitudes are, I eat more and drink more during the holidays to reduce my stress, and I run and scream when I see a spider. Attitudes and behaviors change, but only when there's intrinsic motivation to change them. Now on to needs, wants, and goals. A need is basic. It's what people believe they require, like food and shelter, water, that sort of thing. A want is more of a luxury. I may need food, but what I want is to eat at a local farm-to-table restaurant. And a goal is something that someone has in their life. So I may need shelter, but I've set a goal to buying a nice house in a nice neighborhood. Different cultures have different definitions of what needs, wants, and goals are. For example, I'm a Canadian, and most Canadians would say that free public health care is a need, whereas our American cousins to the south would probably mostly say it's a want. You need to be careful with value judgment. Needs, wants, and goals are not universal. It's important to understand the needs, wants, and goals of a particular culture in order to help you determine your messaging for that audience. If you can appeal to a need, want, or goal, you will capture the attention of that potential customer. Here is a pretty good example of a different culture seeing different needs. A popular theory of needs is by Abraham Maslow. It's known as Maslow's hierarchy of needs. This theory demonstrates that certain needs are more fundamental than others, and once those needs have been taken care of, people will work their way up the pyramid. So if you're hungry, for instance, self-actualization is pretty far beyond your immediate goals. In different cultures, there are different needs that are defined, a la this internet meme that went around in 2013. Once again, understanding that these needs, wants, and goals are relative to your specific audience will help you frame your proposition when approaching them. And as to know, back to Lieberman's social, we are wired to connect, it is now thought that belonging and love is more fundamental than even the physiological, or at least on par. Apart from understanding that different communities have different needs, you should also be on the lookout for the goals and the wants related to your brand. This does not mean that you're scanning for opportunities to jump in and pitch someone, though. What it does mean is that you're learning from this and how to create content and messaging in a language that speaks to those wants and goals. Now onto levels of understanding. Understanding where your audience lies on the spectrum of knowledge about your product, offering, or brand is extremely important. If they're experts in the area, you'll lose them with the 101 messages. If they're beginners, you don't want to go over their heads. So when it comes to knowledge in the area of your industry, ask, is your desired audience A, a novice or a beginner? This means having zero to little knowledge. If so, you'll need to stick to the basics. B, do they have a basic understanding? This means a little bit of knowledge, so don't start with the 101s, but also don't get too technical. C, advanced knowledge. This means don't waste their time with the basics. Start to get technical. Or D, are they experts? You'll need to speak to this audience through their peers, and not the popular ones. D, are they expert? You'll need to speak to this audience through their peers, the ones that are highly respected in the community. Now, another dimension to take a look at is brand affinity. This is not limited to your industry either. Looking across all of the brand affinities that your audience has, you'll get a better understanding of the whole person. The other brands that your audience feels affinity to provide valuable insight as well as opportunities for social media marketers, because even if they aren't seen as direct or indirect competitors, they're still competing for the attention of your audience. For example, I do not compete with Virgin America because I'm not a travel company, but knowing that my audience also listens to Virgin America means that I should probably pay attention to what Virgin America is saying that makes them worth listening to. I could use this information in a number of ways. I could reach out to Virgin America in the future to collaborate on projects. I could reference Virgin America in my content. I could share content that is produced by Virgin America. And I could target ads at people who are interested in Virgin America because the audiences look alike. Knowing what other brands my audience is interested in can give me all sorts of ideas on how to reach them, bond with them, and build trust with them. Now on to general interests. You need to understand the broader interests of your audience as well. For example, where they find affinities in categories such as popular culture, sports, hobbies. Once you understand these broader interests, you can create more relevant content for them. You can get insights to some of these interests from some of the tools that we covered, such as Twitter Analytics, Affinio, and social listening. Again, when I look at my own Twitter audience on analytics, I know that my audience is interested in technology and entrepreneurship. So I know what kind of content is going to appeal to them. It also helps me understand how to speak to them in order to build those relationships. And lastly, what motivates this audience and stirs them to share content? Different audiences respond to different types of content. One of my favorite classifications of shareable content is by Jonah Berger in his book, Contagious: Why Things Catch On. Are there any patterns that you can find in the content that people are sharing that follow his classifications? They are social currency. Sharing this will make me look smarter, cooler, funnier, hipper. Triggers. I want to share this because it reminds me of something familiar and comfortable. Emotions. I want to share this because it made me feel something or it blew my mind. Public. I want to share this so that I can find my tribe. Practical value. I want to share this because I learned something from this. I think you'll learn something from this. And stories. I want to share this because I connected to this story. By recognizing people's motivations for sharing, we can not only discover more interest, but tap into this when creating our own content for personalizing social media messaging.